Indian and Chinese troops have been involved in a military standoff at the Doklam crossing. Both countries' media and ministers have been talking of war, and backing down doesn't seem to be an option right now. However, this region isn't even in India, so why are Indian troops there, and why are they willing to fight for it? The 89 square kilometer Doklam Plateau, the scene of the action, falls close to the Chumbi Valley at the tri-junction between India, China and Bhutan on the Sikkim-China border. The area is part of a territorial dispute between China and Bhutan. India, on the other hand, has no territorial claim in the dispute. Now, while India and Bhutan recognize the plateau as Bhutanese territory, the Chinese have cited an 1890 treaty to bolster their claim. However, Bhutan and China entered another agreement in 1998, agreeing to stick to status quo until a final settlement was reached. And that is exactly what has been altered. Much like 1962, this standoff has been triggered by the construction of a road. On 16th June, PLA troops, along with earth movers and construction materials, reached a clearing point known as the turning point, violating status quo. As the soldiers and the movers were in disputed territory, Bhutanese soldiers asked them to retreat. However, the PLA troops pushed them back. In response, Indian soldiers intervened on behalf of Bhutan, stopping the Chinese by forming a human wall. But why does this matter to India? India has stated that they're simply stepping in after being asked for help by an ally and neighbor. However, that is a slippery slope. The Chinese have countered this logic by stating that if allies can intervene in disputed territories, then they could step in to help Pakistan in Kashmir. Having said that, India has little choice but to intervene in Doklam. For India, the issue is that building a road through Doklam would provide the Chinese with an alternate route to the Chicken's Neck, a sliver of land connecting the northeastern states to the rest of India, compromising Indian defenses. During the standoff, the Chinese government has reminded India of the 1962 loss. However, to understand why the Chinese want a road through Doklam, it may be important to remember the 1967 border clash. In September 1967, the Chinese activated the Sikkim-Tibet border and opened fire on an Indian patrol party near the Nathula Pass. The cross-border firing intensified with the use of heavy artillery. India suffered 88 casualties with 163 injured, while the Chinese reportedly lost over 300 men and 450 were injured. Unlike 1962, India did not yield any ground and won the encounter. The reason for this is the terrain. India controls the ridgeline that overlooks the Chumbi Valley. The valley itself is a narrow funnel with a single road, giving India, which has troops on both sides, the advantage. But by building a Class 5 track, a road capable of supporting jeeps and light loading vehicles through Doklam, the Chinese will gain access to the Jump Ferry ridgeline, thereby circumventing India's defenses and military advantage and bring their troops within 50 kilometers of the Chicken's Neck. So how does it affect India? Both nations refuse to engage diplomatically unless the other removes their troops from the region. So worst case, if this issue isn't solved diplomatically, the nuclear neighbors might annihilate each other and the neighboring countries. And none of this would matter as we would all be dead. However, this may not happen. With India's military and strategic interests at stake, backing off without securing them isn't an option. And with troops still deployed and more than capable of lasting the winter, the upcoming meeting of BRICS nations in August could be an opportunity for both countries to look for a thaw. And in President Xi Jinping's words, concrete cooperation.